Founders is highly regarded as one of the finer breweries in the United States. The Kentucky Breakfast Stout is one of the company's highest rated beers. Now, after coming across bourbon barrels used to hold maple syrup, brewers at the company decided to age its KBS inside the barrels. This beer is known as CBS, or the Canadian Breakfast Stout. Currently listed as a top 20 beer in the world by Beer Advocate, is it worthy of its hefty ranking? Find out now on Two Dudes Reviews.
What up, guys? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a great holiday season and everything. I actually have some kind of Christmas party I'm supposed to get to, so I gotta get this wrapped up. But I wanted to do this before I leave because I'm bringing one of these with me. But Founders Canadian Breakfast Stout. I don't know if you've been up on the beer news. You've probably heard a lot about this. Everyone is just raving about this particular beer. So let's just break it right open. I just wanted to get to it real quick. Because I'll be drinking this at the party, but I haven't had it yet, so I wanted to test it out with you guys first. But anyways, this is one of those beers that everything I've heard about it is just like through the roof. And I don't know if you're like me, but that almost worries me in a sense. It's like when you hear nothing but good things about a particular movie, and then you see it, and it's kind of like, yeah, you know, it was good. I mean, definitely not worth all the hype. So I'm hoping this isn't all hype, and it can live up to it. But I don't know. To me, Founders is by far one of the best breweries in the United States that you can actually get in most places. But all right. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into the smell. You do get a bit of the the coffee dark chocolate on the head. It doesn't smell sweet. You can kind of smell a little bit of the alcohol on it. Granted, it is 11.7% alcohol, so I mean you're pretty much drinking a wine at this point. But yeah. Not. Okay, again, if you haven't seen it or read about it, this is an imperial stout brewed with chocolate and coffee, aged in maple syrup bourbon barrels. So you get I'm not even going to say necessarily maple syrupy aroma. It's almost more of a molasses kind of thing. But yeah, you get a nice, it's kind of a nice coffee molasses aroma. I'm really digging it. It's almost, do you remember, I'm sure they still make them, but those candles that had the coffee beans in the bottom, and so when you burn the candle, you get kind of the coffee aroma. My mom used to make some of those, so that's just always tattooed in my head. But if you remember those kind of candles, or if you still use any of those, that's almost the aroma you get here. Not much of the vanilla that you would with the candle, but definitely a coffee, little hits of chocolate, and I think it smells pretty good. So I'm going to recommend it on the smell. I'm already wondering what it would be like with a nitro infusion. I love my stouts nitrogen infused. Dog just came and joined me. Didn't close the door this time. But yeah, so I dig the smell. Now let's get into the taste. Oh, wow. I'm obviously speechless. That is not at all what I thought I was going to be drinking. It's like you smell the beer and you kind of already have like a picture of it painted out. It's like somebody's explaining a scene to you. the landscape, whatever, and you turn around to look at the landscape, and it's totally different. I was not prepared for that. That was, yeah. All right, so right off the bat, you do get the maple syrup, and you get the bourbon. I think the bourbon is what kind of hits initially. Yeah, bourbon and the maple syrup. There's definitely more maple syrup than molasses. There is a lot of flavor going on with this. A lot of flavor, which I dig. Sometimes the beers, it's always this for me. It's really disappointing when you get a stout and it's just so one-dimensional. It's just like you'll get those, especially it's something like the brew pubs that just kind of pop up out of nowhere, and they're obviously just running the brew pub for money and not because they necessarily have like a real love for the beer. It's more the love for money and not much of beer, and so the stouts are just so one-dimensional, and it's like so frustrating because a great stout should kind of be really complex, and this is maybe the most complex stout I've ever had. These are just so many different notes going on because you can definitely taste the maple syrup and that bourbon right off the bat. Underneath, I feel like you get the chocolate, the dark chocolate on the underside of it. It's almost kind of like bringing up the rear. It's not overpowering. It's more subtle. The maple is just poof, that's in your face. You can definitely tell it is a higher alcohol beer. It doesn't have that barley wine kind of thing where you like a lot of, if you had like a Belgian Christmas ale this time of year where with the alcohol content it's similar, you can really taste that barley wine thing going on. This doesn't have that, but you can definitely tell the alcohol's there. Yeah, I gotta dig past the flavors that are listed right on the bottle. It's interesting. It's they probably use dark chocolate, but the maple adds the sweetness to it. So it's probably a good thing they use the dark chocolate, otherwise it might be too sweet. Sometimes you just have beers, it's like, ugh, my teeth hurt, from it's so sweet. This one is, yeah, so the maple kind of brings in the sweetness. There might be a little bit of, it's a little raisiny on the underside once you kind of start hacking away the main flavors. I feel like there's something else there too. I almost want to say there's almost some sort of a zest in there, like hidden away, really, really tucked away in there. I feel like I'm trying to figure it out. It's almost like a blood orangey zest, really hidden away in there a little bit. But if you really kind of look for it, maybe you can find it. It's not as citrusy as a grapefruit or lemon or lime or anything like that, and not quite as stark as a regular orange. So maybe a little more subtle, which is why I'm going just a hint of that. And I feel like you gotta go. You almost have to have a little of the opposite of the sweetness because the maple sugary is very pronounced. And I think the dog's hearing neighbors. But it's there some, I don't know, I feel like this is a beer that you're gonna keep unfolding different kind of layers every time you go. But I'm gonna recommend it on the taste. If you couldn't guess by when I first tried it, totally knocked me backwards. I was not expecting just these stark, in-your-face flavors. They do not pussyfoot around with these tastes. They mean chocolate and coffee and maple syrup and bourbon. They mean all of that. So they're not kidding around. You will taste all of that. So I will recommend it on the taste. All right, next. Oh yeah, and definitely coffee. Yeah, that's. All right, next is value for price. This is where it gets a little tricky. I believe you can only buy it in these larger, what is this? 1 pint, 9.4 ounces. What is a pint? 16 ounces. So what is that? It's about 25.4 ounces or so. So you can only really buy it in these larger ones. And the larger one after tax is going to be about $30. So it is probably the most I've spent on one single beer in a while. Normally, maybe you'll go and get like the Belgian or Unibrow or Omegang or whatever. You'll get one of these and maybe it's 10, 12, 15 bucks. But yeah, this is $30. So you gotta be, so you're plunking a nice hunk of change around. I mean, granted, so it's 25. So you're getting the size of basically 2 beers. And then 2 12-ounce beers, but then you get almost 12% alcohol. So that's almost like worth like 6 beers worth of alcohol if you wanted to do it like that. But it is a high amount, and so it's really hard to say the value for price. I mean, it's worth it to check it out. It'll be a bummer if you don't like it, because it is very in your face with the flavors. So it is. I'm gonna have to give it a half on value for price, because it is different, much different from most of the beers that I've had. It is much different from most of the stouts that I've had. This is tastes more almost along the lines of a very strong, like after dinner porter, than maybe necessarily a stout. But so just got to take that in consideration. Like, I did not know what it was going to cost. I did not know that it was only going to come in the large bottles when I was shopping for it. I was anticipating just getting a 1 12-ounce kind of thing, or the 11.4, whatever they are. But no, you got to buy the big bottle. I'd almost recommend having a friend with you so you guys can go through this at once. But yeah, anyways, I'll give it a half for value for price. Next is distinction. How distinct is it? And it is absolutely distinct. I am not going to convince this for really any other beers. I mean, now there are other stouts out there that have a nice complexity to it and cost less. But it's done well. The maple syrup is not enough overpowering to make it kind of bleh. There's one that I had maybe a year or two ago. It was from Rogue. Normally I really like their stuff, but it was their their maple bacon donut beer or whatever, and the maple it's just too strong. There's a fine line when you're using maple syrup of being just right or just going over the top, and it just being like kind of ruining everything else involved. This, even though there's so many different things going on, they all seem to, for the most part, go well together. It might be one of those things where you have to kind of let it age. It's almost like when you get a new music album from somebody and you listen to it, and the first time you listen to it, you're like, I don't know, maybe, and then you listen to it a second, third, and fourth time, it just grows on you. You just kind of really vibe with it. That's kind of like what this is. I think the more that you have it, the more it's going to grow with you, and the more you'll kind of be like, yes, this is amazing. So, but yes, distinction, I will absolutely recommend it. Next is drinkability. Again, this is an almost 12% alcohol beer, so you want to take your time with it. You're basically drinking a wine. It is a little more challenging to drink than a bottle of wine. It is... Yeah, this is not something you're going to drink fast. No, I don't even... I wish somebody else was with me for this. I would much rather split this. I might bring this to the party. Because I have a separate bottle, I'll just bring 1.5. But, it's pretty much, you have to know you're getting a very strong stout. You're not going to pound through it. Occasionally there's some with higher alcohol content that you can't taste it. You can taste it. You know it's there. You know this is a high alcohol beer. So, but realistically for almost 12%, tasting this, I would have guessed more like 8-9%. So yeah, okay, I'll recommend it for drinkability. It drinks well for the alcohol content. You're gonna have to take your time, but you're gonna want to take your time to enjoy the flavor anyways. Alright, last category is would I buy it again? And I think I will. It is $30. I'm really kind of contemplating buying one or two more and just kind of sitting on it for a couple years. I think this is a kind of beer that will age really, really well. And I'm very interested to see how it would kind of just develop inside the bottle. I think it'd be fantastic. So yes, I will buy it again. But alright, so that's the review. It got 5.5 out of 6. The only kind of subtle hiccup is the price. It is it might be the single most expensive beer that you buy this year, unless you're buying like super special aged beers that are, different category altogether. But I highly recommend checking it out if you find it. I found it in 2 different places. One place it was just wide open, whatever. The other place you actually had to ask and then go behind the counter. There's a lock and key. They don't want to let you take one at a time. So I don't know, people like hawking on eBay. I should check and then pick up some more. But yeah, definitely give it a whirl. If you've had it, let me know in the comments. If there's another kind of just like great beer that you're enjoying, you're digging, let me know in the comments as well. If you could like and subscribe if you haven't already, that'd be fantastic. Stay tuned to the channel. I got a lot more stuff coming out. I'm going to be much more attentive and posting a lot more videos upcoming. I got a new website coming out in the next month or so. Stay tuned. I got a book I'll drop that as an ebook first. That'll probably be a couple months down the road. But anyways, that is my review of Founders CBS or Canadian Breakfast Stout. I don't know if I'd recommend having it for breakfast, but it's kind of good whenever you feel like it. So for now, for myself and for Founders CBS, happy holidays. Stay tuned.